Good morning, everybody. I hope you all are doing good and you had an awesome spring break last week. And I am ready to jump in. I decided that this morning I want to know what your favorite breakfast food is. So I'm going to give you a few choices. Is your favorite breakfast food pancakes? Is your favorite breakfast food cereal? Or eggs? Waffles, or bacon? Maybe there's a mixture, but I'm just going to say those 5. Are you ready? Your favorite is pancakes, pancakes, pancakes. Your favorite is pancakes. Stand up and say your name. Anyone like pancakes? Your favorite is waffles, waffles, waffles. Your favorite is waffles. Stand up and say your name. I like waffles. I like waffles more than pancakes, I think. Your favorite is bacon, bacon, bacon. Your favorite is bacon. Stand up and say your name. I bet a lot of you stood up for bacon, huh? Your favorite is eggs, eggs, eggs. Your favorite is eggs. Stand up and say your name. Scrambled eggs, sunny side up eggs. Is that your favorite? What was the last one I was going to say? Cereal. Here we go. Your favorite is cereal, cereal, cereal. Your favorite is cereal. Stand up and say your name. I also love cereal, and not just for breakfast. I could eat cereal anytime. We are going to move right into practicing our letters and sounds. So get ready to sit up nice and tall. We are going to say letters and sounds to practice over and over. We know that repetition, doing it over and over, is what helps our brains remember. Let's do this really fast. Are you ready? T, 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 b, 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 r, z, 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 k, 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 p, 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 s, s, j, 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 e. E can say and E can say E because it's a vowel. O. O can say and O can say O because it's a vowel. Qu, 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 Q. Are you saying them? N. D, 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 D. K, 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 C. Stay with me. I. I can say I and I can say I because it's a vowel. O, L. W, W. H. M. G, G. U. You can say and you can say U because it's a vowel. V. Y. Y. F. Almost there. X. Last one. A. A. A can say A, and A can say A because it's a vowel. Awesome job. Kiss your brain. And we are going to move right into our sight words. So meet me back here and make sure you have a whiteboard or a pencil and paper. All right, welcome back. Let me show you the schedule before we do our sight word today. We are going to finish up our morning meeting, do some reader's workshop, do a read aloud, do some math, and do some writing. And somewhere in there, we're going to use Winnie, my dog, for some help, and maybe even Shelly for some help. So stay tuned. We are going to learn a number word today. And when I say number word, I am talking about a word that matches a number. Okay? So we've learned all kinds of sight words. And in a little while, I'm going to encourage you to pause the video and ask your parents to help you make something that will help you with sight words. But for right now, we're just going to learn the word. So today, the word that we're going to learn is the number word 1. One. This is like saying the number 1. 1. So it's tricky because if we were going to stretch out what 1 sounds like, we might say w, But that's not how it's spelled. It's O-N-E, 1. I'm going to switch out my marker. O-N-E, 1. So will you practice writing that word? Remember, it's the same as the number 1. It's just letters making up that word instead of numbers. 1, this word means the number 1. It's the same as like 1 flower, right? Tomorrow we're going to learn the word 2, and then 3, all the way up to 5, okay? Now, as you practice this word, I want you to keep in mind how you're drawing the letters N and E. O is easy because it's just a circle, right? Whoops, I should close that circle. That was not my neatest drawing. Let's try again. O. But N and E are a little bit trickier sometimes. So on this side of the board, I'm going to share with you how we draw the letter N. Pull down, up, over, and down. Pull down, up, over, and down. One more time. Pull down, up, over, and down. You might notice there's a little stem right here. Just a little one. We don't want it to be too tall. If it's too tall, it's going to look like an H. We don't want that, okay? So we're going to make sure there's just a little stem, not too big, so that it looks like the letter N. I'll do it one more time. Pull down, up, over, and down. Will you try that? Make sure you're drawing your ends just like I did. I'm also going to remind you how we draw the letter E, because there are some really interesting ways of drawing letter E's. Some people draw them, this one's kind of crazy, but some people draw like a C and then curve it up like that. But that's not the fastest way to draw it. Some people will start from the bottom and curve up, but that's also not the fastest or neatest way to write it. Instead, here's what we're going to do. Across, up, over, and around. Pull across, up, over, and around. Pull across, up, over, and around. Will you try practicing that too? You're practicing writing the the word one, which is just like the number 1, and you're practicing your N's and your E's to make sure you're drawing them the neatest and the fastest. Don't rush through them, but the idea is that if you practice writing them the right way over and over, you'll get to be pretty quick at them. You won't have to take your time as much because your hand will have a lot of practice. Okay? Go ahead and finish up practicing that, and then we are going to erase our boards and try writing a sentence that I give you with the word one. Before we do this, I would like for you to grab a parent or someone that's with you so they can help you make something. The word wall that I had behind me wasn't working very well because it was hard to see, and there's not a good way for me to fix that problem with the things that I have at home. And so I thought it might be better if you make your own mini word wall. That's what I did. Let me show you how I did it. Make sure you have a parent with you, or if there's a babysitter with you, make sure they're with you right now so that they can see how to make this mini word wall, okay? What I did was I just made a Word document, and if you don't have a computer, that's okay. You can just draw the letters with boxes around them. But I had the whole alphabet, upper and lowercase, in boxes. And then I went back and I wrote down all the sight words that we should know so far in kindergarten. And so this is great practice for you guys as kids, students, to practice writing. Parents, I would encourage you to have them practice writing. The problem may be that you have to write fairly small to make sure you fit all the letters in. So you may need some help with figuring out how big to write, but this would be great practice for you to practice writing smaller as opposed to these big letters, and good practice for you to review sight words. So I'm going to insert a picture of this in the video right now. You might want to pause it and work on this mini word wall before we do the sentence, because then once I give you the sentence to practice writing, you can use your mini word wall to help you figure out what sight words you should know and have spelled correctly. Okay? So let me insert the picture. Go ahead and pause it. Once you're finished making your mini word wall, hit play and I'll give you the sentence. All right, welcome back. Do you have your mini word wall made? I hope you do, because that's going to help you write your sentence. I thought that Winnie could help us write a sentence together, and and she's excited because she sees a treat in my hand, and I thought, you know what, let's make this into a sentence. So your sentence today is, my dog can have one treat. When you sit, when you down, my dog can have one treat. No, she's excited. The sentence is, my dog can have one treat. My dog can have one treat. That's what you're writing. Okay, and after Winnie eats her treat, she's going to try writing the sentence too. We'll see how she does. Okay? My dog can have one treat. Winnie, sit. Up. Sit. Paw. Good girl. My dog can have one treat. Come on back and we'll show you how it's done. Winnie's working hard on her sentence. Are you? Okay, Winnie finished her sentence. Come here, Winnie. Come here. This is what she came up with. That's just her paw print. Winnie. She didn't quite get it done. What did you come up with? The sentence was, my dog can have one treat. Winnie, excuse me. My dog can have one treat. Make sure before I show you what it should look like, make sure that you have a complete sentence, a capital letter, and punctuation. My dog can have one, that was your sight word for today, one treat. Okay, are you ready to see? Here it is. My dog can have one. That was our sight word. Let me underline it for you. One treat. And you notice that I gave Winnie one treat. My sentence has a capital letter. My sentence has punctuation. I chose a period because it's not that exciting to me that Winnie's getting a treat because I give her treats all the time. So I chose to just do a period. My dog can have one treat. My and can and one are all sight words, so you should have those spelled correctly. The other ones maybe not so much. Dog is one that you can stretch out. D-og, dog. My dog can have one treat. How'd you do? Did you remember a capital letter and punctuation? Are your words spaced so that they're not all scrunched together? Is your handwriting neat? We're going to go back up and review some sight words together. Okay, well, Shelly heard that Winnie was helping and she wanted to help too because she really misses you guys. And so Shelly decided to help us with some sight words. I have 2 sight words, one on each side of her tank, and she's going to decide which one she wants to learn or review first. Okay? So I think I'm going to re-put them out because she keeps going to one side. I have a feeling she's going to want to be by me, but I think I'll get out of the way and let her choose. Okay, Shelly, would you like this one or this one? Go ahead, choose, Shelly. Oh, she's swimming to the other side. Which one do you want, Shelly? Oh, she chose. Okay, Shelly's made the decision. She started with the letter B on the word wall, and she has decided to review this word. It's the word but. Like, I want to go to school, but I can't. But. Remember, this is not a silly word that we use. This is a word we use all the time. I want to go see my friend, but I can't. Great job. Okay, Shelly, she chose this one to go second. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. What is it? By. Like, this book is written by Mrs. Koch. By. Fantastic job. Pat yourself on the back. And let's pretend like we're swimming. Like a turtle. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, Shelly. 2 more words. These words come from the letter L on the word wall. Let's see which one Shelly chooses first. This one or this one? Let's see what she chooses. Go ahead, Shelly. Okay, Shelly swam toward this one, so I guess we'll do this one first. This is a sight word from the word wall under the letter L. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. This is the word look. Like, look at Shelly. She is swimming. Look, and remember, we can think of these 2 O's as like little eyes looking at us to remind us that this is the word look. Okay, Shelly. She wants to do this one second. Ready? 1, 2, 3, flip. This is the word like. For example, you might say, I like Shelly because she is silly. Like. Great job. This time, let's Pretend like we're doing the wave at a football game. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! Great job. Let's do 2 more words. These words come from the letter T on the word wall. Shelly? Go ahead and make your decision. Okay, I think she's decided. This is the one she wants to do first. Okay, are you ready? 1, you can kind of see through the card. 2, 3. This is the word at. That. Remember, TH together says th. Can you say that? Th. Your tongue goes between your teeth. Th. And we know that this chunk of the word is at. Th, at, that. Great job. 1 more word under the letter T. Here it is. 1, 2, 3. This is the word they. They. It's tricky. T-H-E-Y, they. Fantastic job. Let's pretend like we're swimming like a real person. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. 1 more letter from the word wall. Are you ready? Shelly, you get to choose which one we do first. Go ahead and choose, Shelly. Okay, Shelly has made her decision. This one will be first. Are you ready? This comes from the letter W on the word wall. 1, 2, 3. This is tricky. This is the word was. Was. Some people will stretch it ass, was, but that is not the word. The word is was. Was. Great job. Last word, and then we'll go review. Ready? One, 2, 3. This is the word with. We know that TH can make a hard sound, and it can make a soft sound. This one makes a soft sound, with. Can you say that? With. Great job. Pat yourself on the back. Say, thanks, Shelly. Thank you, Shelly. We'll see you soon. Let's go review some sight words. Okay, let's review these sight words that Shelly helped us learn and review. Ready? I better flip them around here. We'll start backwards. Was. With. That. They. Look. Like. By. And but. Okay, great job. Let's review our schedule and then we're going to move on. We had sort of a long morning meeting because our pets helped us with a lot of the learning. So far, we have finished our morning meeting. Check. And now we're moving on to Reader's Workshop. We'll meet you back here for Reader's Workshop. Okay, so in Reader's Workshop, we've been working mostly on strategies to read. So we've learned about looking at pictures. We've learned that we need to point to each word, even if we know the words. We learned that we need to think about the pictures and how they relate to the words, or what we think matching what the words say. And today we're going to move on to something a little bit new. We're going to be able to say, when we're finished with this, I can sort informational text and narratives. That seems like a lot, but when you're finished, you're going to know what that means. I can sort informational texts and narratives. That just means that you're going to be able to sort books that tell you information about something real from books that are just made up and pretend. That's not so hard. You can tell me if a book is giving me information about something real, or if it's just silly and about something not real. Just pretend. Okay? Let's do this together. I have some books with me, and we're going to sort them into books that give me information about something real. We call that an informational text. Or books that aren't real, maybe they're just silly or made up. Okay? The first book that I have is called Potato Pants. And maybe some of you heard me read this on the live literacy page. This book is really silly because it's about potatoes that wear pants. Right away, just by looking at the picture, does this seem like something real? Do potatoes wear pants? No, they don't wear pants. So that's giving us a clue right away that this probably is not a book that is teaching us information about something real. This is probably a book that is silly and made up. But let's do a picture walk just to make sure. So a picture walk is just when we go through the pages one by one, we look at them, and move on. You're thinking to yourself, is this something that's real? Is this teaching me information about something real, or is this just a pretend story? Do I normally see potatoes and eggplants wearing pants? Right away, and after looking at all these pages, you can probably say, Mrs. Cook, this is not a real story. This is not about something real. This is a made-up book. So we call it a narrative, right? It's something that's not real. I'm going to put this in the narrative pile over here. Okay, let's look at another story. This book is called Wild Cats. When you look at the front of this book, you can tell that this is probably a picture of a real cat, or real cats, I should say. Real cats. Let's do a picture walk to see. Right away, I'm seeing some labels. Lion, lynx, sand cat, cheetah. So right away, I'm already seeing some information given to me, right? More pictures of wild, real cats. We're not going to focus on reading the words right now. We're just going to look at the pictures. Then we'll go back and see if we can read some words and see if what we thought matches what the words say. Do these pictures look like they're drawn by somebody, or does it look like somebody really took a picture of these? Do these look like real animals? You're probably coming to the conclusion that there are pictures of real animals. I'm going to flip through a couple more pages. Do you think this book is trying to give us information about these animals, or do you think that it's a made-up, silly story? Is this book teaching us something or not? What do you guys think? Is this book teaching us something, or is it just a made-up story? I think that you're right. I think that this is probably a story that's teaching us something. But let me go back and read a page or a few words from a page to see, is this book really teaching us something, or is this a made-up story? I'll just go to the first page. A tiger moves quietly through the forest, stripes over its body from head to toe. The big tiger and the little house cat both belong to the family of cats. Only the house cat is cuddly and tame. The tiger and other cats are wild. They run and climb, creep and pounce. They growl and purr, nap and play. All cats are much alike, as you will see, yet each kind is different too. Did that tell us some information about cats and tigers? Yeah, it did. It told us that cats, like what you have in your house, belong to the same family as tigers. They're kind of similar, but cats in your house are probably a little bit nicer and they like to cuddle, whereas these tigers, these big cats, are wild, right? It says that they climb and creep and pounce. It's giving us information about this tiger, and it gave us information about house cats, right? So this is a book that we would call an informational text. It gives us information, right? That's not so hard. I'm going to put it over here in the informational text pile. Let's look at another one. I read this to you before. This is called Olaf and the Three Polar Bears. Right away, what comes to mind? Is this a book that you think is going to teach us information about something real? Or do you think this is a book that's going to be pretend and made up? You can probably use what you know already about the movie that Olaf is in, right? Frozen. Is that a true story or did someone make that story up? Someone made that story up. So right away, we probably have a good idea that this is not an informational text. It probably won't tell us information about something or teach us something, but we can do a picture walk just to make sure. Let's look at a few of the pictures. Do snowmen usually walk around like that in real life? No. There he is again, walking around. There's the snowman, and he is sneezing. Do snowmen sneeze? No. So do you think that this is a true story that's teaching us information about something, or do you think it's just made up and pretend? It's made up and pretend. So I'm going to put that over here in the narrative pile. We call those books narratives. Let's do one more. This book is called Flight, Flyers and Flying Machines. I bet some of you would really like this book. So this book is already kind of giving us a clue. It's already titled Flight, Flyers and Flying Machines. So I have an idea that I will probably be learning more about things that fly just from the title. If I'm learning something, that means, and I'm learning about something real, that means that it could be an informational text. But I'm going to do a picture walk just to make sure. Here's a table of contents. Remember we had a table of contents in the book that we were reading together last time? The A to Z animals. This looks similar. Do you think this book is teaching us about something or is made up? So far it might be kind of hard to tell because it looks like there's some characters in the story. Let's keep doing our picture walk to see. I've noticed that each page is about something different. Like this page had all balloons. This page had kind of a mixture of boats and birds. This page is talking about things that glide. It's talking about these two guys. This doesn't look like a story like this one, right? This one, let's go back to the Olaf story. This one seemed a little bit like there were more illustrations and less words, right? And you could tell from the pictures that this was not real. This one maybe is a little bit harder to tell, so we might have to go back and we might have to read a little bit to see, is this an informational text or is this something that is made up? Right away, the table of contents gives us a clue because a lot of informational texts have a table of contents, just like our A to Z animal book, which we're going to read next. This one also has a table of contents. So we know if it has a table of contents, it's probably going to be an informational text. But let's read a little bit to make sure. Okay, it's called Dreams of Flight, this page. The idea of flying goes back thousands of years. There are dozens of flight legends, including the myth of Icarus and Daedalus, two Greeks who made wax and feather wings to escape the island of Crete. This was a legend, but copying the birds seemed a good idea to many would-be flyers. Throughout the Middle Ages, inventors dreamed up ideas for flying machines. Leonardo da Vinci sketched out a flapping wing machine, or ornithopter. Right away, there's lots of words that I don't really know very well. And it's telling us about history, something that happened in the past. So this book is teaching us something, right? So I'm going to put this in the informational text pile, okay? What I would like for you to try to do next is to go through your books that you have at home. Do you have informational texts and narratives? If you do, can you sort them? Can you decide which is teaching me something and which is just a funny, silly story or a story that's made up? Which is teaching me something, which is an informational text, and which is just a made-up story, a narrative, okay? We're going to work more with informational texts and narratives as we go, but for today, we chose to sort them, so we can say, I can sort informational texts and narratives, and your job is going to be to see if you can do that on your own with the books that you have. All right, so we just finished our Reader's Workshop time where we sorted the informational texts and narratives, and now we're going to move on to the read aloud. Last time we were together, we read through some of the letters in this book, A to Z of Animals. We read through the letters that matched the sight words we reviewed, and so we're going to do the same today. We've already done the letter A, so we're going to move on to the next letter that we learned, which was B. And if you remember, we saw a table of contents in this book. We recently discussed that a table of contents means that this could be an informational text. Does it teach us information, or is it just a made-up story? So I think we might have a good idea because the last time we read, we learned a lot about the animals we read about, which means that this must be an informational text. But let's keep reading to see if that still matches what we think. So we are going to focus on the letter B right now. Would you find the word that starts with the letter B and look at the number next to it because that's the page we're going to turn to. Do you see it? Right here. Bear, bear on page 7. So we're going to find page 7. There it is. 7's in the corner, which means it must be page 7. We're going to learn about a bear. So there's some facts around this bear. The top one says, bears hunt in cold forests. Claws. If in danger, young bears use their claws to climb up trees. Fur. Bears can also have some fur that is gray, fair, or black. Fair means a lighter color. And the last fact says brown bears can live for up to 30 years in the wild. Did we learn some facts about bears on this page? We sure did. So this means that this book is an informational text. Okay, so let's keep reading. The other words we learned were from the letter L on the word wall. So let's go back to our table of contents. and find the word, the animal that starts with the letter L. Once you find the one that has a beginning sound of L, look at the number next to it to see if we can figure out what the page number is. See it? Lion on page 1717. Okay, let's flip through and see if we can find page 17. I found it. I know it's page 17 because there's a 1, 7 next to each other in the corner, and this is the letter I was looking for, letter L. Lion. Lions hunt in teams. There are 2 kinds of lions, one from Africa, the other from India. Those are countries. Family cat. Lions live in a family called a pride. The pride is ruled by the strongest male. And last fact is tongue. The lion's tongue is so rough, it rips meat from bones. So that's also telling us that lions must eat other animals. Okay, the last words that we reviewed came from the word wall under the letter W. So we're going to look for the letter W in our table of contents. Then look at the number next to it. Letter W. There it is, whale. And next to it is a 2-8, 28. 2 groups of 10 and 8 extra ones makes 28. Okay, let's find page 28. It should have a W on it. Let's see. I found it. There's 28 in the corner, and it has the W, so I know that it's the right page. We're going to learn about whales. Whales are enormous ocean animals. Enormous. What do you think that means? Enormous ocean animals. What do you know about whales? Are they big or small? They're big, right? Enormous means big ocean animals. The blue whale's heart is as big as a 4-seat car. Feel your chest right here. Your heart is right in your chest. Can you imagine if your heart was as big as a car? That's what they're saying that this whale's heart is as big as. Filter feed. Large whales eat tiny animals. Their mouths sieve them from seawater. So that means that their mouth will kind of sort out which are animals and which is just water, and that's how it eats the food. Ocean giant. The blue whale is the biggest animal ever. Its tongue is the size of an elephant. Its tongue is the size of an elephant. I did not know that. This book is really teaching me a lot of information. Is it teaching you information? That must mean it's an informational text. So if I were sorting this book with my other books, I would put this in the informational text category, right? Fantastic. So let's check our schedule. We did our morning meeting. We did reader's workshop. We finished our read aloud, and now we're moving on to math. Hi everyone, we're going to move on to math now. So for math today, you're going to need some kind of counter. I chose a penny because a penny is worth 1 cent. So I thought that would be a good way to decide that this is 1. But you can use anything that you have around the house. You could use Cheerios, any kind of cereal, Teddy Grahams. If you have any kind of little toy, a lot of one little toy, you could use animals. Whatever you have is fine, as long as you have quite a few of them. Like I would say, as long as you have 6 of them, you'll be set for this game, okay? So we're going to play a game that practices subtraction, and I'm going to show you some different ways that you can do that. I'm going to have this out because I would suggest you have some kind of paper. I would love for you to track your thinking in this notebook or on a piece of paper if you have one. I'm going to rip a page out because it's easier for me to show you My journal's kind of bent a little bit, so it's kind of hard to show you what I'm writing. But you can keep your pages in your journal. And then you can look back and see what you did tomorrow. And you'll remind yourself, oh, I practiced subtraction yesterday. Okay, so you're going to need some paper or a notebook, a pencil, some counters of some kind, and a couple dice. I have foam dice because they're quieter with the computer, but if you have regular dice, like this one, that will be perfect too. You could probably find some dice in a board game, like if you had, I think maybe Monopoly has dice, and there are other board games that have dice too. And so you could look in there if you're trying to find some dice. So once you have all your materials together, you are going to roll your dice first. Remember, this game is helping us practice subtraction. So when you're finished with this game, you're going to be able to say, I can subtract numbers and show my thinking. I can subtract numbers and show my thinking. All right? So let's roll the dice. I rolled a 6 and a 2. Okay? I rolled a 6 and a 2. I'm going to prop them up right there. A 6 and a 2. So I'm going to start by deciding which number is bigger, because that's going to be the number that I write down first. Is 2 or 6 greater? That's right, 6 is greater, so it's going to be my first number that I write down. So I'm going to get my piece of paper and write down 6. 6. Remember, subtraction means take away. So if I start with 6, the number that I take away will be my second die, 2. So if I take away, it's a straight line across, and I'm taking away 2. This is my equation so far. 6, 6 take away 2. Now, what does that look like if you use counters? Let's start with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I started with 6, right? And I took away 2. 1, 2, those are gone. And I'm left with how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 6 take away 2 equals 4. Six take away 2 equals 4. So if you're playing with someone, this is kind of the fun part. You get to keep the counters that are left after you solve the subtraction problem. So my answer for my subtraction problem was 4. That means I get to keep these 4 pennies. Okay? If I'm playing with a partner, now it's my partner's turn. Let's just pretend that my cardinal right here is my partner. Okay, ready, cardinal? My cardinal is going to play now. He is going to roll his dice. Ready, cardinal, to roll? Okay, here he goes. Ready, roll. All right. He rolled a 6 and a 4. You are deciding which is bigger, the 6 or the 4. You know that the 6 is greater, because there are more dots, right? There are 6 here and only 4 here. So the 6 will go first. He will take his paper and write down his first number, 6. Okay? Then he's going to subtract the smaller number, which is 4. He took away 4. Let's see what this looks like in using counters. Okay? He started with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He started with 6, and he took away 4. That's what he rolled with his second dice. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many are left? You got it. 2. So 6 take away 4 equals 2. That's what he wrote on his paper. He gets to keep the 2 that he has left. That's his now. So he has 2 so far, and I have 4 because that was the difference that I ended up with. You'll keep playing this until you run out of counters. So I said that you needed 6 before, but I wasn't thinking clearly. If you're playing with a partner, you're going to want a lot more than 6 because when your counters run out, that's when you'll decide who wins the game. Whoever has the most counters at the end wins the game. So you'll keep rolling your dice, keep doing the subtraction problems, and keeping whatever you have left after you've done your subtraction problem. And whoever has the most at the end wins the game. If you're playing by yourself, you can just keep using the counters and keep however many you have as a difference until your counters are gone. It doesn't have to be a competition, but if you have a partner that you want to play with, you can, or you can use a stuffed animal and you can pretend to do his equations for him and see which person wins, or which, I guess not person, but which one of you wins, right? So that's a really fun subtraction game that you can use to practice, okay? We used counters just now, and we just had them in front of us. But you could also use a tens frame. That's another tool that you can use. And so I just want to quickly show you how you can use a tens frame to help you with this game. Sometimes tens frames make a little more sense because they're a little more visual. So you can see a little bit more clearly what you're working with. So I have a number path on this board as well, just as a reminder that that's another thing you can use, but I'm going to draw a tens frame on the bottom of my paper here. Okay, I'm going to draw a tens frame down here. Remember, if you want to practice drawing a tens frame, it's not so hard. You start by drawing a rectangle. Okay, split it in half like a hot dog. Draw 4 dots on the top spaced out. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how they're spaced? And then draw straight lines down from those dots. Okay? And now you have a tens frame. Mine's a little bit crooked, but you get the idea. If I was doing the equation using this tens frame, I could use my regular counters or I could draw a picture. The 2 numbers that I rolled recently were 6 and 4. 6 take away 4. So if I had a tens frame and I wanted to start with 6, I could fill in my tens frame with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. That's what I started with, okay? 6, and I took away 4. If you had a whiteboard, you could just simply erase 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You took away 4, and you can see what you have left. That's pretty easy too, right? If you don't have a whiteboard, you could just cross these out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many do you have left? 2, right? You can use a whiteboard or just a regular piece of paper. But tens frames kind of help us visualize or picture in our head what this problem really looks like, okay? If you wanted to use a number line, that's another tool you could use, or a number path. Pretty easy to draw, right? You started with 6, and you took away 4. If you take something away, you're getting a smaller number, right? If you add something to a number, you get a bigger number. Since we're subtracting, we need to hop toward the smaller numbers, right? We need to hop toward the smaller numbers. So I'm going to hop 4 toward the smaller numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what number do I end up on? 2. So number paths or number lines are another way that you can do that. I'm going to show you one other way that you can use a number path. I just need to erase something quickly. Another way to use a number path to solve a problem like this. You can picture in your head what 6 looks like on this number path, right? We're not just talking about the number 6. We're talking about how many 6 looks like. So we're talking about all of these, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6. If you took away 4, you can picture, okay, well, what does 4 look like? 4 looks like this, right? If you're taking those away, you're left with this, which is how many? 2, right? So that's another way that you can think about using a number path. You had 6, you took away 4, and you're left with 2. So we just showed 3 different ways, actually 4 different ways to solve this equation. We showed how you can use counters to play this game. We showed how you can use tens frames to play the game. We showed how you can use a number line or a number path to play the game. And I just drew all these pictures, and so pictures are another way that you can play this game, okay? So I hope that you enjoyed that. I know it was kind of a lot of information, but like I said, even if you're not playing with someone, you could play with a stuffed animal or an imaginary friend and see who ends up with the most counters at the end after doing all of your subtraction problems. Okay? Have fun, and I will see you next for writing. Okay, everybody, we are on to our last thing in our schedule today, which is writing. And we are finishing up our small moment stories tomorrow, okay? So even if you're not quite done, that's okay, but we're going to move on to the next unit starting on Wednesday. And so we need to use our editing checklist to make sure that our stories are neat, that they have all the elements we want in a small moment story, and that we have writing conventions, right? So we have capital I's in our word while words are spelled right. We have spaces between our words. And so I'm going to show you an editing checklist. You can go back and pause the video if you want to use this checklist for you while you edit your story. Remember, editing just means that we're making changes to make our story better, okay? So this is the checklist we're going to be using. You might want to come back to this and pause right here so you can check your story for these elements. The first one that we're going to look at, I think we'll just maybe look at 3 of them today. We'll come back and do the other 2 tomorrow as we finish. Capital I. That's our first box. So on every page in our story, we're going to look for the capital I, because when we're finished with this lesson, we're going to be able to say, I can edit my story to make it easier to read. I can edit my story to make it easier to read. One way to make our stories easier to read is to make sure that we have capital I's when they are by themselves. Okay? I have the sledding story with me that we looked a lot at when we were in school. Remember, it was called Sledding with My Mom When I Hit the Bump. Okay. So, if we're looking for a capital I when they're by themselves, let's look at the cover page. Okay? Do you see the capital I here? Good. So the I is by itself and it's capitalized. This page is checked. So I'm going to move on to the next page. I jumped in my sled. I was ready to sled down. Check to see, are there capital I's? If you saw this, if you saw a capital I in the word in, I jumped in my sled. If you saw a capital I here in your writing, would you say, yes, that's good? Or would you say, whoops, it doesn't need to be capitalized if it's in a word? If it's in a word, it doesn't need to be capitalized, only when it's by itself, right? So if this were your writing and you saw a capital I, you would want to go back and fix your writing to make sure it had a lowercase I. Okay. This page has been checked, so I'll move on to my next one. So we're going through every page. Before I get to check that I did this, I need to go through every page. Not just one, but every page. Okay? I got ready to go down the hill. My mom pushed me. Do you see capital I's? This I is by itself, so it belongs there, capitalized. This I is not by itself, so it doesn't need to be capitalized. This page is checked. I hit a big bump. My mom was nervous that I would fall off. I did not fall off the sled. I was surprised. I see lots of capital I's. So whoever this writer was knew I needed to be capitalized before I'm finished with my story. I needs to be capitalized if it's by itself. Okay, a couple more pages. I ran back up the hill. My legs were tired. Capital I by itself, check. I felt good. So did Mom. It was a good day. Let's look at this page a little bit closer. Do you see the capital I here in this word it? If you were looking at this and you hadn't read it very closely, you would say, oh my goodness, no! It doesn't need to be capitalized, it's in a word. But if you pay close attention, this first sentence ended, I felt good, so did Mom! Exclamation point. That sentence is finished. Now we're starting a new sentence. And we know that every sentence has to start with a capital letter. So this writer actually did the right thing by capitalizing the letter I in that word because it was the start of a new sentence. Okay, we're going to check off this on our checklist. You checked for a capital I. On the other side of this checklist it says, my partner checked. And so if there's someone in your house that could also check your writing to make sure you have all the capital I's that you need, once they're finished checking it, they can check this box. or pretend to check it because I know you don't have this. You could make your own if you wanted to, but okay. Now the next one, word wall words. We're going to do a couple pages together, but if you were doing your own editing and checking, you would do your whole book, but it would take a while for us to do that together. So I'm just going to show you a couple pages on checking for word wall words. This would be a great time for you to pull out your mini word wall that you made today, right? Because this has all our sight words, just like they would be on the word wall. Okay. So, the very first page is the title page, or the cover, and it says, Sledding with my mom when I hit the bump. I'm looking and I'm noticing some sight words. With is a sight word, and I'm looking at my mini word wall, and I see with on it at the bottom, and it's spelled correctly. My, M-Y, I know that's spelled correctly. I is spelled correctly. T-H-E, the is spelled correctly. But when I look at the word when, I'm noticing it looks a little sloppy, first of all. So if this were mine, I'd probably want to check it and correct it. But that word when is not spelled correctly, and I know that that's a word wall word. So I'm going to look at my mini word wall, find the W, and right there is the word when, W-H-E-N. It's a tricky word, so it's a good thing I have it on my mini word wall. I'm going to go back and edit that word right here and fix it so that it's spelled correctly. Okay. There it is, W-H-E-N. Now it's spelled correctly. Next, I'll move on to my next page. Check to see if all my word wall words are spelled correctly. I jumped in my sled. I was ready to sled down. I is spelled correctly. In is spelled correctly, and I'm referring to my mini word wall as I'm checking these. My, I, was, to, those are all spelled correctly. So I'm going to move on to my next page. Okay. So you're going to continue going through all your pages to make sure that all of them are spelled with your sight words correctly. Okay? Once you've finished that, you can go back to your checklist and check off word wall words because you've checked to make sure your word wall words are spelled correctly. Now, if your mom or dad or brother or sister were with you and you could have them be your partner to check for your word wall words, that would be fantastic because sometimes when you're going through, we miss one that's spelled incorrectly. So someone can help us by checking for us, right? They can check it off once they've done the checking. Last one we're going to look at today, spaces between words. Do I have spaces between my words, or are they all smushed together? This author did a nice job of making sure his or her words were spaced well. There is definitely space between the words, but I would even venture to say maybe too much space because I can fit 2 fingers in between these words, right? That's a lot of space. So it doesn't have to be big spaces. In fact, we don't want it to be big spaces. It's a little bit hard to read when there's big spaces. So instead, it could look something like this. I'm going to write it in a marker so you can see it a little bit more clearly. If you were writing yours, you would want to use a pencil because sometimes we make mistakes, right? I'm going to write it using the spelling that this author had. You don't want too much space between the words or else it gets a little bit confusing to read the title. I'm taking my time because I want to make sure it's very neat and readable. Okay. Now I just have one space between each of my words, right? It's not too much, but this is probably a little easier to read than this, right? It's a little bit all over the place. So I'm going to check my next page to make sure I have spacing between. Again, you can fit 2 fingers between these words. We don't need that much space. We only need one space, right? So if this were my writing, I would go back and rewrite it underneath to make sure that it looked as neat as it can with a single finger space between my words. Likewise, if you had your sentence looking like this, let me demonstrate a different thing. If your sentence was really close, like this, I would want to go back and fix that too and give it a little bit more space so it was easier to read, right? We don't want to have too big of spaces in between our words, but we also don't want to have no space between the word, right? This would probably be the better way to write it. A single space in between each word, okay? So once you've gone through and checked to make sure that you have all the spaces in between your words, or you've shrunken the space between your words, you can go back to your checklist and check off spaces between words. So we're going to stop there on our checklist today because that's a lot to do, okay? And if you fly through this in like 2 minutes, then I'm going to think to myself, maybe you weren't super thorough, or you didn't go through every page as carefully as you could have. So take your time on this. You're going to work on the capital I's, the word wall words, and the spaces between words, okay? Remember, you might want to go back and pause the video so you can check these with your own writing, okay? Tomorrow we'll finish up, and I would encourage you to have someone videotape you reading your small moment stories so that I can see all the work you've done on them, and I would love to watch those videos. So maybe someone in your family can videotape you and send it to me so I can see your writing. That would be so awesome. Okay, so if you want, you can pause the video and come back and finish with me later, but I'm going to continue to finish out the day. We've worked on our morning meeting, reader's workshop, read aloud, math, and writing. We'll be back again tomorrow, and maybe I'll have Winnie and Shelly help me again tomorrow. Have an awesome day, and I will see you soon.